Welcome to City of Keene in Focus. Thanks so much for listening. Good morning and welcome to our next episode of City of Keene in Focus. It is a hot Monday morning. My name is Asa Kramer and I am joined by Elizabeth Furland, our city manager, and Paul Andrus, our community development director. Hi, guys.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How's everyone doing today?
Doing great.
Yeah.
We got a budget.
We have a budget.
Yeah, it's big news. Last week, the City Council unanimously voted for our operating budget, which will begin on July 1st.
That is excellent.
Yeah, so there were only a couple of minor modifications to the budget. The City Council added some additional funding to some of our nonprofit agencies, and really that was as a result of the public hearing input that was received and concerns related to reductions in state and federal funding for grants for these organizations. And so with those minor adjustments, they unanimously approved the budget, and we're excited about that because guess what? Now we start the capital planning part all over again. It doesn't. It's just a vicious cycle. So we update the capital plan every other year extensively. It's modified slightly on the off year, but this is the year we will go through and take a look at the entire plan, and the council will adopt a 2-year plan. So we'll start that soon after the council gets back from their council break. But really, we want to talk about the master plan and community development and all of the great things that are happening up on the 4th floor, which is why we have Paul here. So Paul, you want to talk to us a little bit about what's happening on the 4th floor?
Sure. You know, it's coming up on my 5th month in the job here, and what isn't happening, really? We are actually entering into our last phase on the comprehensive master plan, the process that hasn't been updated in many years.
2010, right? I think
2010. It's been a tremendous amount of community work that's been done. Involvement from people of all backgrounds and ages, and we have everyone from the middle schoolers to the seniors in the community participating, and we should be wrapping up, hopefully ready to go to council in August. But the master plan steering committee will be looking at the latest draft on July 15th, and then from there we'll determine when we can get a recommendation then to at least get the plan in front of City Council.
Yeah, it's been a really extensive process. I really got to give a shout out to your team. They have done a great job, and specifically Mary Bruner, our senior planner, she's really been leading this project during the transition, and so it's great to see it coming to an end. And actually it's just in time because every other year we also go through a process to update the City Council's goals, and we look at that master plan and what the community has decided is important to them and try to tie those two documents together, and also as part of the capital planning process as well. We always like to make sure that we are tying back to our master plan, so I think this is great timing.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's good when a city actually does use this type of process when they're determining their priorities, because of the community outreach process has been so robust and has really reached out to a number of different stakeholder groups for an extended period of time. And so I think there's really good connectivity with how the community feels about what's important.
Yeah, and in your budget this coming fiscal year, you've got a couple of changes, a couple of initiatives, one of which the council just recently approved is the purchase of some additional software.
Yeah, we're really excited about this. And this is something that when I came here, the staff was already talking about with respect to adopting and implementing a new permitting system. I know that doesn't sound very exciting to folks in general, but for the services that we provide and the customer base that we work with, this is the type of system that will allow us to have, you can submit an application for a permit for pretty much anything we do online. You can still come into the office if you want to and talk to a real person, but you can do this entirely online. You can submit payments entirely online. You can look up in real time where your application for a permit is. It'll also include our health inspections and code enforcement inspections. So it's an all-in-one approach. It's what we call a one city approach to our services so that it's integrated not only in community development, but it's also connected with the fire department, in public works. So all of this is done in order to streamline the process and the customer experience.
I'm really excited about this. We've been working really hard as a city over the last few years at trying to improve our processes and making things as transparent as possible, as well as efficient as possible. And I know since COVID, we've really looked at putting things more online. And so I think this is going to be a great initiative. When someone gets their permit, they're not interested if it's community development or public works or the fire department. All they want to know is that their permit has been reviewed and that they're ready to start their project.
We can also, out of the system, we can provide a dashboard that citizens can come on our site and look at the things that we are doing, the services that we're providing. Elected officials can look at this dashboard and understand, what we're doing, how we're doing it, the time frames that are involved with it. So it's very transparent and very real time. And so that's exciting for us because I think a lot of times in building and planning work, it's not easy to describe to folks. And when you don't have the data that a system like this will provide us, it's hard to tell the story. Mm-hmm. So that's another reason why we're really excited about this.
Yeah, and getting the data will help us also determine if there are things that we still need to tweak in the system, because we'll know if there's part of the process that's taking longer than another part of the process and look at whether or not we need to make some changes. And so I think it's going to be a great addition for the department and an improvement for the public that is trying to access our services. You've also had some changes in staff up on the fourth floor as well. We've had some moving around. We recently had one of the employees move to another department. I'm really happy that we got to keep TJ, but he did move to another department. So now you're in the process of doing some recruitment.
We are. And yeah, we're happy that TJ was able to stay within the city family, if you will, working for Public Works. And his background in dealing with contractors and the community in general will be a real asset for the city to keep him. Yeah, we have recruited and hired for a plans examiner inspector position that will be coming on board in July. So we're really excited about having that new team member. We think he's going to be really good in terms of dealing with the public and having a very welcoming approach. We will also have another position that we will be bringing on board in October, and that's exciting too. That's going to be part of our code compliance inspections team so that we can be more responsive to issues or concerns within our neighborhoods, which has been a continuing storyline that we hear all the time from residents, in that to deal with property issues that come up, those types of things, so that we can be responsive to those, but also respond to them in a way that we're only seeking compliance and fixing it. Where that's really the key element to all of this. So this will allow us to do that and be more efficient.
Yeah, it really is about compliance. It's not about penalties. When an issue is brought forward to the city, we look to get that property into compliance. Ultimately, that's what the neighbors are looking for. And the other really great thing that you have been doing a wonderful job with the staff, the team, is really helping to set the tone that when someone is looking to do something, build something, do something at their house, that the city really is here to help them accomplish that goal. That's a mindset that there are things people can and cannot do, and certainly the fourth floor does a great job explaining that, but then also providing options. So you might not be able to do this, but you can do this instead, or this is how you get to this point. And I think that's an important mindset. It's not just about saying no. It's about, okay, how do we help you reach your goal?
Yeah, it's really looking at the end in mind, and I don't think it's any different than any other customer service philosophy. If you're running a business and providing services to customers. You put yourself in their shoes and you try and understand how to communicate with the end in mind and have it be the experience that you would want it to be. I think staff have been really responsive to this. They're very technically savvy. They're really tremendous subject matter experts, and they want to be able to help or bring projects through our process in a seamless fashion. I've been really impressed coming in here, being here 5 months, with the capabilities of this staff. It's been just a delightful experience working with this team.
Yeah, you got a great team up there. And Paul, I think you've been doing a great job. So we've been really happy to have you on board. You even moved into the community.
We did. My wife and I moved in. We were able to buy a house. We've been spending, or at least I've been spending all of my waking hours on the weekends moving into my shop, my workshop. So it's my dream workshop. So boy, oh boy, that's been a great experience. So it all wrapped up into everything else that's been pleasant and rewarding to have moved here.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's so great to have you really plant those roots in the community and continue to work with that team upstairs who continues to do great work. And so I'm really looking forward to the next fiscal year. I think we've got some good things in the works, and we'll continue to improve all of these processes as we move forward. Is there anything else you want to talk about?
I think what I would just add is that we know that the tools that we have to be able to further the goals of developing more housing, providing more economic development projects, support those efforts in the community. We know that those tools are still being developed, one being our development code. And so we know that over the next however period long, probably it'll continue on in terms of our tweaks and improvements as we learn more about what needs to be in place to be able to support those goals. The work is ongoing.
Yeah, honestly, it's never going to end. When the community adopted the land use code, we knew that it was going to continue to evolve. And as we've seen projects come in real time, we've been able to pinpoint where some of the issues might be. And I've seen the great work of the planning board with the planning, licensing, and development committee just sort of working through those issues and making changes and always looking at ways in which they can encourage housing. And they've done a fabulous job at creating additional opportunities for housing in the community. And it's always going to evolve. I don't think it's ever going to stop.
I'm just really impressed with the level of volunteerism and commitment from the residents in this community to be on these boards and give their time up to be able to do actually very, sometimes it's a little bit complex, but it's worthwhile. And then I guess I would add one more thing that we will be doing out of community development in conjunction with other departments in the city, and that is neighborhood outreach. We had some listening sessions over the past few months in each ward, and we plan on doing that again in conjunction with other city processes that are already in place because it's been really successful and people have been turning up and we're getting really good feedback on what people feel are important specifically in their neighborhoods.
Yeah, that's a great point. Well, Paul, unless you have anything else?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you for coming down. We'll have you again, I'm sure.
Yeah,
anytime, right?
Oh, anytime, yeah.
Great.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Paul. Well, that was great. It was a nice update as to what's happening on the fourth floor, and there really is a lot of work going on up there.
They are all so shockingly smart. It's awesome.
Just real quick, last week's council meeting, there were a few other things that were decided. The city council adopted the city's hazard mitigation plan, and so that's something we do periodically. It's important for our grant processes that we have this updated, but it's just important that we continue to take a look at that because when COVID hit, we didn't really have great continuation of operation plans across the organization. So basically a document that says, how are you going to continue to work? How are you going to continue to operate if X, Y, and Z happens? And there are lots of different scenarios that we look at in the hazard mitigation plan. We look at, natural disasters, of course. But to be honest, we hadn't spent a lot of time thinking about something like COVID and what would happen. And so during COVID, we did do that, and we created these continuation of operation plans. And as part of the city hazard mitigation plan update, we talk about the importance of doing that again. So we're working with Court Blomquist, who's our contracted emergency management director, to work with all of the departments over the next few months and update that plan on. So I do think that's an important planning process. The other thing that court has been doing is looking at creating a site for the emergency management team to be able to access all of these documents. Before we implemented SharePoint and some of the other tools that we now have, people would hold these either on their local drive or they would hold them on the city network in different places, these documents, but it wasn't really located in one central location where everybody knew where the documents were and being updated in real time. And so that's on his plate as well as a task to complete for this upcoming year, is one location using a tool like SharePoint so that we can all just log in and have that available to us if an emergency does happen. And then we talked about a new offering at the Keene Public Library during my manager's comments. The library now offers the public access to what's called Grant Station, and this is a really good resource for nonprofits and other government agencies and educational institutions who are seeking grants, because you can log in and look at 15,000 plus curated grants, as well as 150,000 funding profiles. So I think this is going to be something that especially our nonprofits are going to look at when funding becomes harder and harder to get. This is a place to go. And so this subscription is something that you can only access in the building, so it has to be accessed there. I hope this will be a good tool for organizations in the community.
Yeah, I had never heard of Grant Station before this announcement came out from Keene Public Library, and I can just imagine how powerful of a resource this is. Because when you're looking for grant funding, it's hard to know where to start. So this is just a phenomenal resource that's going to be available to our community.
Yeah, also at the meeting last week, we did the reports coming out of committee, and there were several licenses for festivals like the Music Festival and the DeMar Marathon. And those were items that really they hadn't changed much from the year before, and they'd gone through their normal protocol review. So this week, we are back in committee, and I think we're only going to have one committee meeting this week because I believe FOP will be canceled. There were 2 items on the FOP agenda, and they are not time sensitive, and because the council is going on break, we're going to have another opportunity to have an FOP meeting before the council has a regular meeting. So I do think Thursday's meeting will be canceled, but we have our MSFI meeting this Wednesday. There are several items on there. There's a concern related to on-street parking on Church Street. There is a proposal coming in from Parks and Rec related to the Goose Pond spillway. There's an update related to the Martel Court force main evaluation. This is a big project that we've had ongoing for the last year. And then, of course, there is also going to be an update from our Public Works Department regarding the downtown infrastructure project. That you can count on seeing something related to that project, probably on the MSFI agenda now for the next 3+ years until we're all done with the project. There'll be some sort of update. So not a huge agenda, but still one that I think that is going to be somewhat busy for the committee on Wednesday. And while we didn't talk a lot about it at the council meeting last week, the council did approve one of the contracts related to the Island Street project. And so there's some work that's being done on Island Street. There's about 1,500 feet of storm drain pipe that's being replaced, 2,600 feet of sewer pipe, 1,400 feet of water main plus fire hydrants, and then some granite curbing, concrete sidewalks, and a full depth reconstruction of this section of roadway. So that went out to bid. It had gone out to bid before, and we did not get a bid that was under budget. So we did have to make some adjustments and go back out to bid again. And this time we did get a bid. So it's moving forward. SUR is going to be the contractor, and the contract that the City Council approved last week was for the engineer that's going to be brought on to review the project as it goes through all of the steps. And I don't know that everyone knows that we do that, but I think it's a really important part of a construction project when you're doing a pretty extensive project. One of the things you need to do is, as you're paying out the project through each phase, having someone on behalf of the city, whether it's a city engineer or an outside engineer contract, review that it's being done to specifications before we pay for it. That's done every step of the way. When the contractor submits for payment, we have had an engineer, whether it's a city engineer or a contracted engineer, review to make sure that the quantity of materials used is correct, make sure that the work has been done up to the specification in the contract. And so it's an important part of the project.
Absolutely. I think that's really important for people to know that there is this sort of quality audit. I don't know if that's a good way to describe it, but that happens throughout these projects.
Right, before they're paid, which, I think that's really important because obviously when we're done, we want to be confident that the work is as we articulated in the contract and that in the end we have a good project and a good product that will last us for many years to come.
Great. Well, it sounds like a lot happened at that last council, including, as you mentioned before, the budget. That's huge. Just looking ahead for a couple of community events. There are a couple of community nights coming up. There's a citywide community night on Tuesday, August 19th, and we're sort of focusing on the touch a truck element of that night. I think it's going to be really fun. There's going to be free food, burgers and hot dogs, and all these city departments will be there. It's a chance for the public to come out and just talk to city staff. If you have questions, concerns, get to see what's going on. There's a lot of work happening at the city, so just getting to see all the cool work that's going on at the city. And if you have kiddos, they can come check out some of the cool city vehicles.
Yeah, that's always a really popular event. We hadn't done it during COVID, but when we brought it back last year, we had a lot of people, a lot of families out, and they really enjoyed it. The kids got to climb all over everything, climbed in the back of the SWAT vehicle. They climbed around on the airport plows. Those pieces of equipment are huge, the ones that clean the airport runway.
They're so cool.
And they are always very popular with the kids. Of course, the kids love to get into the fire trucks, and they like to get into the police cars. And so really, everyone seems to have a great time. But even more than that, we have these stations inside of the Blastos room set up where different departments are highlighting initiatives that are going on and answering questions. And so, one year the library was in there showing what they could do with 3D printing, and people really loved that. And of course, the other departments, they may not be as attractive to kids like the water and sewer department, but they try really hard to have a little display out there that's interactive, and so people can ask questions and really get a better understanding of what happens at the wastewater treatment plant. A lot. So it's a great event. Last year it was really, really hot. We had these big fans set up with water sort of spraying, and that helped. But hopefully the temperature will be a little bit better for everyone because it is really a great opportunity for all of the departments to interact with the public. And we always have counselors there and the mayor walking around interacting as well. So if you have a burning question, you can track them down there. And they have a great time too.
And one other thing that I'll mention about Community Night is last year we had a naming contest for the airport snowplow. It is now named Sasquatch, and we're going to keep that tradition going. We're going to name, I think this year we're going to name some of the public work snowplows. So be on the lookout for more information about that. Also, there's a couple of other community nights coming up. They are Parks and Rec specific, so go to keenparks.com to find out more information about that. I do want to mention just a couple of heat resources because it is going to be really, 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 really hot the next couple of days. The city pools are open, so go take a dip. Also, there are cooling stations set up at Keene Public Library and the YMCA. Those are some places to go to just to cool down a little bit in this extreme heat. Make sure to drink lots and lots of water and take it easy. Don't overexert yourself. I think that's all I've got. Do you have anything else you want to talk about today?
I think that's all for today.
All right. Well, super. In that case, we will see you next time. Thanks for listening to City of Keene in Focus. We'll see you next time.